Coaches, good Friday afternoon here in the lab with Coach Eric Milana, Pick Six DBs. And Coach and I have been kind of following each other on social media. And obviously me as a defensive guy and a secondary guy, I'm extremely intrigued. I think one of the things Coach is going to touch on in his presentation is open field tackling, which we all know is something that we stress all the time from any position. So Coach, for the listeners that don't know your background, how you kind of got this thing rolling, kind of let everybody know.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me on. I'm really excited to be here. And like you said, when we were talking, it's all about giving back and helping to grow the game of football. So with today's presentation, I'll be going into open field tackling and be giving some keys about it. So my name is Eric Colonna, and I'm from Mississauga, Ontario, up in Canada. I played football up through college, tried to make the CFL, but it didn't work out. And in my time playing, I always had moments where I was thinking, wow, I wish I learned this back in high school, or I wish I learned this when I was younger, because it would have made it so much easier to develop. So I took that inspiration and I put it to use, and I built Pick Six Athletics, which is all about defensive back development and for DB coaches as well. So my mission now is making it easy for DBs and DB coaches anywhere in the world to get all the training they need and learn everything they need to about the game.
Awesome. No, I've been looking forward to this. Been busy. My wife and daughter have been away with the church for a week, and we getting our inside of our house painted. And so my son was up with my in-laws, so I had the house to myself. So I was trying to knock out as many of these as possible. So it's been a busy week, but a good week. Learning a lot of stuff and talking to a lot of good people. So, Coach, I'll go ahead, let you share your screen, get rolling with your presentation. I'm going to be listening with the camera off and the mute button on. But if you have any issues or anything, go ahead and let me know. But I'm excited to listen to this.
Awesome. All right, let's get this going. And the audio, everything sounds good?
Yep.
Okay. Just shows that it's loading right now.
Okay.
You can't see my screen yet, right?
Not yet, no. And like I said, I have a guy that does this editing.
There we go.
Yep. So you got.
Oh yeah, if it's a little choppy or whatever.
Yep.
Okay, now you see a bunch of the screens.
Yeah, you got to go to. Yep.
And now you see the slide.
All right, now we're cooking. All right, go ahead, Coach.
Okay. All right. So again, thanks for having me on. I'm excited to talk about this. Tackling was one thing that I was always very passionate about. I started playing football when I was 9, and back then, all we used to do in practice was hit. I know nowadays a lot of the teams want to play it safe and not do so much tackling in practice, especially with kids. But a big problem with that, in my opinion, is that kids don't learn how to tackle properly, so they're not good at it. And then when they get to the game, they put themselves in dangerous positions, and then they might end up getting hurt. So I think tackling is something that should be worked on a lot, and it's very important to learn proper technique. And then, especially what we're going to talk about today, open field tackling. For defensive backs, this is most of the tackles that we're going to be making. So I put together a quick little presentation here to highlight some of the most important parts, most important keys for open field tackling. And then I got a bunch of clips that we'll go through in the cut up, and we'll just go through it and learn about open field tackling. So again, thanks for having me on, and we'll get right to it. So open field tackling, I split this presentation up into some keys here, and then every key I'll explain a bit, and then go into some clips and just go step by step by step. So number one thing for open field tackling, in my opinion, the most important thing for the start is closing the distance. So lots of times as a DB, we're going to be pretty far off, whether we're a safety running downhill, whether we're a corner filling the play, there's going to be a ton of space. So the first thing you got to do is get downhill aggressively, sprint to the ball carrier fast, and take air out of it is just another way to say it. So here are a couple of examples. So you can see here, this is Robert Priester in the CFL here, one of my friends in the league. And does a great job sprinting downhill, getting after the quarterback. This is the type of drive that you want. You see the open field tackle, you're not scared of it. You're coming downhill quick to go and make to tackle. And then Caleb Downs' example, you can see here, look at all this distance he covers as he sprints downhill. So I'm sure most of the people watching this have seen this clip before, but step one is taking the air out of it and really closing that distance fast. And then here's a Cooper DeJean example where here, ball was just caught, and look, he got all this space. If he stays on his line here, then the ball carrier is either going to get a first down or have a pretty easy job. And you'll see a lot of times in youth sports, if somebody's running here, the DB is just going to completely stay on his line, or he's going to wait back here for the tackle. So watch how he gets downhill, and he closes that space aggressively. And that was a 3rd and 7 play. So now offense is off the field. So those are a few good examples. Now, what I'm talking about when I say close the distance is the benefits are it gives him less time to juke. So when you get to the ball carrier really fast, he's going to have a lot less time to juke you. You could just picture it here. So ball carrier catches it, turns around. If you wait here, he's got time to set you up, make a move, and juke. If you get downhill aggressively to him, it gives him a lot less time to set you up and try to make a move. So benefit number 1, give him less time to juke. Number 2, you get more momentum into the hit. That one's pretty self-explanatory. As you go into the tackle, you're already getting some momentum, so you could make a more powerful hit. And then last thing, less yardage, and that's how you get some tackle for losses. So again, we'll go back to this example. 3rd and 7, if he was not aggressive downhill, that would be a first down, or at least a lot closer. And especially if it's something like defending the goal line, we got to be aggressive downhill. And then you could flip all those on the side. And if you don't close the distance, you're giving him more time to juke. You don't have any momentum, so it's more likely you're going to get trucked. Because think, if you're just standing there and he runs into you, he's got all that momentum and power. And then the last thing is that you're giving him easy yards. So we'll take a look at these examples. So here, watching this DB, and back here, you can see he's just pretty much squatting and waiting for the ball carrier to run into him. Think he's built up speed already. If you're just sitting there, he's going to run into you and probably run you over. So we don't want to just sit and wait. See back here. And those are not fun tackles to be a part of if he just runs right into you. And the main thing here, like I was saying, is if we're defending the goal line or, first down mark or whatever, we really got to get downhill to give him less yards. But then again, having more momentum into the hit, because if you just sit there and he's running and he tries to truck you, he's probably going to win that battle. Then another one here is less time to juke. So if you kind of sit back and you're not aggressive downhill, first down marker is there, but also you're giving him more time to juke. So if you just sit and wait, now he's got time to set you up and to make a move. It's going to be a little bit harder. So like I was saying, you want to be aggressive downhill, close that distance, and try to get to him quicker than he expects you to. And then here was one more example. Adam's catching the ball. And now DB over here. So you could look at it at this frame right here. Think he's on the 40. It's about 5 yards away. Now, as we get to the hit, you can see the DB doesn't move at all. So that's extra 5 yards of momentum. He's getting extra yards. And if you're just sitting there, like I already explained it, he's got a lot more momentum. And you're probably going to get trucked. Now, we get him down, but ideally we get a better tackle, and also we get him down earlier. So that was number 1 key, closing the distance. Number 2, we'll talk a little bit about leverage. In most situations, you want to keep your leverage going into the tackle. You'll prevent cutbacks and you won't over pursue. So we'll take looks at all those examples. And the big idea with that is if you're on your leverage, let's say the ball carrier is here, he's running this way. If you're on your leverage here, you stay on your leverage, he's going to keep running this way. So you just force him out and then go make the tackle. If he cuts back, since you're on a leverage, he's going to run right into you. If you take a worse angle and you go here, now he could set you up, cut back, and especially if you're a corner and that's the sideline, you might be giving him the sideline, and that could be an easy touchdown. So big thing is, we want to keep our leverage. It's going to help us play with our teammates, make vice tackles, and like I was just explaining, if he cuts back, he runs into you. So leverage is your friend. It's really going to help out. And a big key here is aiming to the near hip. So we'll take a look at a couple of examples here. The DB's back here. This was actually one of my old clips in university. And there's different types of open field tackles. Like you could be more head up, you could be inside out, you could be a corner coming from the outside in, and we'll talk a little bit about that. But same pointers are going to apply. So here, tracking that inside hip, thinking about my leverage here, because if the ball carrier wanted to cut back, he would run right into me. So I'm running downhill, and I know that he's going to keep running this way, which makes my job a little bit easier. Let's play it one more time. Again, if he cuts back, he's running right into you. That's a big key with leverage. And you can compare it to man coverage. You're on a leverage to deny any routes to that leverage. And let's say, even in this position, picture he was a receiver right now. If he's running a slant, I'm inside leverage already, so he's going to run right into me. So same concepts in football. If we talk about man coverage, tackling, leverage really helps you out as a DB. Here's another example. LSU working on somewhat open field tackling, and you can see DB's just keeping his leverage, sitting with his near shoulder, which we'll talk about in a bit, and working to wrap the legs. And now for a different example. So it's championship from last season. So pawns at the top there. Now we take a look at an outside in tackle, and you can see this is a teach tape example. He does a great job keeping his leverage. So right here, he comes on the screen. Beautiful. I love this clip. So think, if he got really excited and he cut back this way and completely lost his leverage, now the ball carrier could bounce it out. But what he does really well here, going into the tackle, he understands he's outside leverage, so he's going to track that near hip and then go and tackle on his leverage and does a beautiful job. Like I was saying, if he cuts back, or in this situation, if he tries to bounce it out, he's going to run right into you. So really great job. We'll get into these keys a bit later, but as he goes into the tackle, you could see he's gathering his feet. So he's taking a couple choppy steps. He's leading with that near foot and near shoulder up. He's wrapping up. So all around, this is a really great play. And then one more example here for corners. So just a good job keeping outside leverage. Oftentimes, the ball carriers want the sideline so they could just sprint down it and try to go score. So when you play on your leverage, it's really going to help out. Again, you're forcing him inside. If you got help there, it's going to help make some vice tackles. So this was an old post I put up. A couple examples from the Saskatchewan Roughriders up here in the CFL. This one's really good. Just a perfect example of teammates playing together. So corners on his outside leverage, safety is on inside leverage. They just make a good vice tackle. The ball carrier has nowhere to go because guys are keeping their leverage. And again, you can see this is just going to keep layering on. They're coming downhill aggressively. I think we had one more example here. There's a good vice tackle. Same idea. Both players are keeping their leverage, going into it. Boom. Great wrap up. And then the other pointer on leverage slide is if you take a bad angle, you could lose your leverage, obviously. And in some examples, you might lose contain. You might run up the sideline. But also, you could cut off your teammates. So we keep our leverage going into the tackle, prevent the cutbacks. If he cuts back, he runs into us. We want to make tackles with our teammates and play with our help. Aim to the near hip. And then like I was just saying, if you take a bad angle, you might lose your leverage and you might cut off your teammates. So we were just here. Next clip. DBs, ball carrier. You can compare this to the vice tackles we just watched. Now you can see here, he is in the same position that Pons was, that the other DBs were, but he's not aiming to that near hip. He's not keeping his leverage. He takes a bad angle and gets too in front of the ball carrier. And you can see he ends up getting juked. And then the ball carrier, he scores on that. Yeah, ends up scoring a touchdown. So, this stuff's really important. If he just went more here, right to the outside hip, then that would have prevented a touchdown. So I'll show you in slow motion. And then again, compare that to, we'll go with this one. You can see corner staying outside, safety's on the inside. That's how you want it to look. Especially if you know your teammates are there, there's no reason you should be in a hurry to get in front. Here's another example of the backer getting juked. It could have been a good vice tackle teach tape, but it doesn't take a good angle. So we're gonna angle to that near hip, angle to that near hip. You do this, that's a vice tackle. He's got nowhere to go. If you take a bad angle here, it's easy for the ball carrier to bounce around. And if you guys have played returner or offense before, everything happens really fast. But when you see hips like this, then you got a shot to get around him there. So we want to stay more square and just take a good angle going to that hip. I think this one was also a touchdown. And then one more example, two more examples here. So this is a really good example to show why these pointers are very important. So this Saskatchewan was up 24-21. End of the game here. I think this was from a couple years ago now. So 2nd and 10 in the CFL, there's only 3 down. So this is pretty much 3rd and 10. You think you make this play, then they're going to have to kick a field goal. And then, we'll go from there. Still got a bit of time on the clock to try to go score. In summary, this is a very important down. And then if we look what happens here, it hurts to watch as a defensive guy, but it's a great clip to show the technique, why it's important. So here, got a linebacker. Where do you come from? Yeah, so it came out here. Probably not used to being outside here in this contained position. But look, this is essentially a big box. I love doing drills like this where ball carriers on one side, DBs on the other. Then we got to get downhill, keep our leverage. And here it's the same pointers. He's got to come downhill aggressively and aim for that outside hip. So I'll play it in slow motion, but watch the path the linebacker takes. So here, you can see he aims too much inside, cuts off his teammate. So if you want a quick laugh, just watch these two guys. You can see because the backer takes a bad angle, he runs into his teammates, and then everybody goes flying. And then that also leads to them losing the game. So this stuff is very, very important. You have to be able to get on a good angle. And again, here, he should just aim to the outside. He's got pursuit. He's got the alley player coming from more of a head-up position. This is exactly what the defense should want. They can make this tackle and have, it could be 3rd and 4 here right now. But again, it's all about that angle. Got to keep that outside leverage. If you aim too much this way, he could cut around and it makes it easier for the ball carrier. So again, you can compare those to the vice tackle reps, good and bad. And then one more, just in terms, not exactly leverage, but same idea, aiming to that near hip for the tackle. So we can't aim too much upfield on these sideline tackles, or he's going to cut back. Then you're going to lose your inside leverage here. So we got to be on more of an angle to that hip and not overrun it. Because again, he sees your hips like this. It's easy for him to cut back and break those tackles. So that was it for the leverage. So quick summary so far. Talked about closing the distance. Gives him less time to juke, more momentum into the hit, and then less yardage. and it's easier to get TFLs. Now, what we just talked about was the leverage, where you usually want to keep your leverage going into it. An example where you might not want to would be, I don't know if I have a clip on hand, but let's say this is the field, and then that's the sideline over here. If the ball carrier is bouncing out and no edge is set yet, this is you playing safety, and you know your teammates are in pursuit, then you could take a bit more of an angle just outside of the ball carrier and then force him to cut back. Actually, I think I have a clip on that. One sec. Angle.
And we're gonna edit this stuff out.
Yeah, I was about to say you might want to edit this part out.
Yeah, no worries.
So here's one example of where you might want to aim slightly in front. So that was me playing safety. And then here, ball carries breaking it out. There's no edge set. I know this isn't the best view. Actually, that's pretty good. So there's no edge set. The corner's in here falling over. And I could see he's on pursuit. And I know I got other defenders here. So instead of going for the near hip, now I could just aim slightly outside of the ball carrier and force him to cut it back. So either way, it's not much of a difference between here and there. You can make the tackle either way, but just one situation I want to bring up was if there's no edge set, then you could aim slightly outside and force that cutback. But again, if you're really close to him, either way, you should be able to wrap him up and make that tackle. Okay, so talked about leverage and why you should keep it and not lose it. And sure, those examples painted a big picture of why it's important. You saw the two examples that led to touchdowns. So now you're making an open field tackle. You came downhill aggressively. You stayed on your leverage. Now what's next is that you gather your feet. So this is also going to help prevent cutbacks or getting juked by gathering your feet. When I say gather, I just mean break down or take those choppy steps or come to balance. It all means the same thing. So your feet get you in position to tackle. Think about long strides to short strides. That's something that most coaches have probably heard before. As you're closing that distance aggressively and running towards the ball carrier, it's long strides. As you get close, maybe a few yards away, yeah, you're going to take a couple of choppy steps. The reason for that is because if you sprint the whole time and he takes one step and cuts, you're not going to be able to control yourself and you'll probably run by him. But if you take a couple of choppy steps here, now you're in a position where you're able to redirect. And when he cuts, you're able to redirect and go and make the tackle. So gather steps are all about coming to balance and getting more control, widening your feet a little bit so it's easier to redirect. So again, long strides to short strides. If you're on a pursuit angle, you don't always need to gather. So for example, if the ball carrier is really bouncing it out to the side and you're chasing him or even coming from the side here, then if you got a good angle where you know if he cuts back, he's running right into you, then you don't have to gather your feet. So for an example, we'll go back to this clip. I'm on the inside out tracking angle. I can just go full speed into this tackle because I know that if he cuts back, he runs right into me. So I can really just sell out and go for it. So gathering your feet, if we're talking more of a head up tackle where if you don't gear down at all, it's easier for him to juke. So we'll look at something like this, where there's a little bit of space between you. It's nothing like the pursuit angle like we were talking about before. And if you just sprint the whole time, he takes one cut, you might end up running right by him. So we'll look at some examples there just to talk about it a little bit more first. If you don't gather your feet, you might sprint right by the ball carrier. A big mistake, do not stop your feet completely. I see this especially with kids or anyone who hasn't had much tackling experience. They'll come downhill aggressively once they learn to close the distance, but then they'll really fully break down and stop moving forwards compared to taking those steps forwards into the tackle. So think about active feet into the tackle and you're continuously closing ground. So same idea here. You could see the whole time he's closing ground, getting after the quarterback. And then I want to show this example again. So same idea. If you fully break down, if you don't move forwards at all, then it's the same thing as closing the distance. You're giving him more time to juke. You don't have much momentum into the hit, and you're going to give him extra yards. All right, let's take a look at some clips here now. So if you don't gather your feet, break, this is the idea, where you might end up running right by him. If he jukes you, he does a little spin move at the end. So if he's catching the ball and you're about to hit him, go hit him, go make a big hit. But if he's got a little bit of space to work with, then you might want to just get a quick little choppy gather step. Now here, DB is pretty close, but it just doesn't take a great angle. You'll see a lot of examples though where I don't think I have one on hand, but the ball carrier will be running. DB will just sprint full speed by him, and then takes one cut and runs by. Especially on kickoff or special teams, you'll see a lot of that. So again, main reason for gathering, we want to avoid mistakes where we're just running right by the ball carrier. That one's a bit different. And then, which one's this? Okay, so then another thing is that as you gather your feet, it helps make sure you take those short strides. And again, with choppier steps, it's easier to redirect. If you get a little bit out of control, so you could see DB's feet as he goes into the tackle, that's good. But then going in here, he's just jumping forwards and looks like he tries to trip the ball carrier here. It should really be shorter steps all the way into the tackle. So don't want to hop around like this. You can see here, DB's hopping. So for all the coaches watching, I run a lot of tackling drills with my guy, open field tackling, not even making contact, but just tagging off on the hip. And I'll see stuff like this all the time where getting near the tackle, both of the feet will hop off the ground and they'll cover a lot of distance. So you can see here, his foot's down, and then he doesn't hit the ground until here. I know the camera moved, and here. So he really covered this much distance in one step or in one hop. But the problem is when the DB's in the air, he can't react. So here, ball carrier cuts, and this whole time the DB can't move because he's jumping and he's in the air. So we want to move 1 foot at a time and take shorter, choppier steps. Don't hop and don't cover so much ground like this. It's the exact same pointers in press man. If you hop your feet and he cuts back, then there's nothing you could do till your foot hits the ground again. So just want to show that. Also, look how wide his feet get here. Yes, it's kind of funny to see how many of these bad tackles lead to touchdowns. This technique's really important. And then here's the same idea. So DB, he caught the ball already. There's no way we're going to make a big hit stick at this point. So it's more of an open field tackle. And then just watch his feet, just taking really long steps here. Like that. Where at this point, it should really be choppier steps going into the tackle. So here's a really good example. I've used this clip a bunch on Instagram where going into the tackle, DB's back here. I'll restart that. You'll see his active feet going into the tackle. This is what I'm talking about here. Gather steps, chop, chop, chop. And just a few small steps help prevent you from getting juked. And like I said before, he's closing the space aggressively. He's still coming downhill. He's slightly slowing down, but it's really just chopping your feet. That's what makes you ready to redirect. And it doesn't give the ball carrier a chance to juke. And then here's a great clip from Devin Cromwell, who's just got drafted to the CFL this year. Played at Guelph, then transferred to play in the States. So watch here, going into the tackle. Look at the feet. Stepping right towards the ball carrier. So that's him over here. Just a great job of stepping towards the ball carrier. And in this position, like he's in a great spot to go and make powerful contact. He's a little bit high up, but He's a lot taller than the ball carrier there. And then I'll show a couple more clips before. Actually, you know what? We'll go back here. So this leads me to the next point. This is still gather steps, but the coaching cue that I really like and something I thought of was step on his feet. So you'll see lots of times where your guys are going to be reaching for tackles, but if you think about stepping on his feet, you'll never be reaching for tackles because you're getting so close, and you'll always be in a powerful position to tackle. So we'll go back to this clip, watching the corner. You can see he's not in a bad spot, but he's just reaching for the tackle here, where if he takes an extra step or two as the ball carrier goes in, steps here, then he's much closer to make the tackle. So we don't want to reach unless we absolutely have to and we have to dive. We want to always get there with our feet. And then to show this clip again, when you do a good job with your feet and you're stepping right towards the ball carrier there, you think about that cue stepping on his feet, it's really going to help you be in a strong position to tackle and be really close. Now, this was kind of a funny clip, and this was from the NFL guys versus the Team USA flag. So that was Logan Paul, the influencer on defense, and Jalen Hurts at quarterback. And you can see going into the tackle, he doesn't have great footwork. So like we talked about, you want long strides to short strides. And now here, going into the tackle, his steps are too long. He's covering a bunch of ground. He's pretty much hopping here. Like, look where his foot is, and this one's in the air, but look where they land. It's all the way over here. So you can't redirect when you're in the air like that. If he had more choppy steps and it looked a little bit more like this, then he probably would have got that sack. So think about active feet into the tackle, step on his feet. Those are two really good coaching cues that should help out. And then a couple more recent examples from Miami, just watching their games from this past season. So watch the safety, ball carrier, there's a ton of space. And look how he goes into the tackle. You can see he's not sprinting the whole time. So long strides as you get closer. Chop, 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 widen the base. Doesn't give him the opportunity to juke. And this is how you want it to look. Some gather steps teach tape. Really good stuff. And then another clip up here. Also, if you're watching this and you like these clips, or if you want any of these clips for your cut-ups or whatever, you can reach out to me on any social media. It's at Pick6 Athletics. I'm most active on Instagram, but I'll see any DMs on X as well. And also, email is pick6@defensiveback.com. And then I could gladly send whatever you'd like. So watching over here. You can see the same pointers as he's running. So here's the long strides. And again, long strides just mean that you're covering more ground, because as you have probably learned from track or sprint technique, 40-yard dash at some point in the past, when you have longer strides, you're going to run faster because you cover more ground. So close the distance, have long strides, but then as you get close, gather, 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 choppy steps, come to balance. There you go. I'll play it one more time in slow motion. Chop, chop, chop into the tackle. Boom. And then this is a really good job of extending. You can see pushing off his feet. Good, powerful tackle there. All right. Step on his feet. And then next, we're going to talk about power position. So this is actually going into the tackle now and making contact. And we'll just touch on some of the more basic principles, although it'll probably end up being pretty detailed. So power position for contact. It'll change on the type of tackle you're making. Like I explained a bit before, if you're more of a head-up view, it'll be different than if you're on the side, or if you're on the back, or if you're on a big pursuit angle. But for power position, I'm going to talk more about those head-up tackles where the ball carrier is in front of us, and we're getting into more of that form tackle position. So everyone's heard this, near foot and near shoulder into the tackle. That is ideal because we're going to have the most power there as we're stepping towards the ball carrier and hitting him with the near shoulder, and then keeping the head on the side. And knee bend is very, very important. So take a look at this clip. This was from Jackson Finley, who is on the BC Lions now, up from Canada. So this is some Canadian university tape right here. And you can see as he goes into the tackle, he gets in a really good power position. So I'll talk more about this in a sec, but we want to have a stagger to the feet. So not even. So 1 foot up, 1 back, although here he's pretty even. And a big thing here you can see is that near foot up, near shoulder into the hit, heads on the side to keep your head safe. Don't want to make contact with the head. So here, near foot up, hitting with the near shoulder, head on your leverage. Want to keep the eyes up. And knee bend is very important so you can get nice and low. Probably should have had his helmet a bit tighter, but it's a really good tackle. And then we'll take a look at another one here. Coop. So everyone's seen this clip. Going into the tackle. Love it. So as he steps, near foot up, hitting with that near shoulder, wrapping the legs. Beautiful job making that contact. Driving his feet after. Just all around awesome clip. Especially on Derrick Henry too. Really impressive stuff. And I touched upon this, but since he just caught the ball and he's turning around, you don't have to gather as much because, you know, he doesn't really have time to make a juke, but still there's a bit of distance. So you don't want to sprint full speed. Just want to gather quickly. Boom, wrap up into the tackle, drive the feet. Beautiful stuff. Now to get more detailed about it, so those are the main things. Near foot, near shoulder, knee bend. I got a few of the do's and don'ts here. So you want to have your face mask to the hip, and same thing, head on the side. Face mask to the hip means that your head is up so you can see what you hit, and you don't have your head down because that's where you put your head in a dangerous position. And then don't drop or don't hit with the head. So like we were saying already, over here, good job with the form tackle. Think about face mask to the hip. Could have had his eyes up a bit more. But all around, not bad. It's just really dangerous if you get your head right on the guy and it's getting into all that contact, especially if he goes to truck, he lowers his shoulder, he lowers his head. That's where you're going to get into a really dangerous position. I'll pull up one more clip here in terms of getting trucked or too high. So head down. This was an example from Destroying, who's the kicker influencer who does all the one-on-ones. So he was playing in, I think it was the UFL or USFL a year or two ago. And look, heads down. You can see his head kind of cranks to the side there. His eyes are down. He's making contact with his head. And he actually ended up breaking part of his neck from this. So, you know, it's not just a coaching point. It's really important stuff because if you hit wrong and you drop your head like that, then it could really end your career and hurt yourself. And then one more here where it's too high. This one shows it. You can see going into the tackle. So this is such a linebacker play, but going into the tackle, he's really high up. He's not really bending his knees much. And then it's head on head and the running back's going in a truck. This is what you want to avoid. Not only does he get trucked, but even if you make this hit, it's really dangerous for your head. Sure, if you're playing, you want to have a good long career. So don't want to make contact with the head. You want to have your head on the side like the other clips that we saw. And I might as well pull this one up too, where you can see DB's just really high up. Go into it. Head on head. Trucked. And it leads to yet another touchdown. So face mask to the hip. Don't drop your head and don't hit with your head. Mainly because of safety, but also if you drop your head and you're not seeing what you hit, if he jukes you at the last second, or if he goes to jump up and hurdle, you're giving him the opportunity. And I won't pull it up, but you'll see in a lot of clips where DBs get hurdled. Most of them, it's because they're looking at the ground and they don't see. And then you'll see in some clips where they do a great job defending the hurdle. I've posted this before. They have their eyes on the ball carrier. And then as the ball carrier goes to jump, they see it. They raise their pad level up. they wrap them, and then they make a really great tackle. So eyes are very important. Next up, shoulder on a low angle. Don't have to be too low, but definitely want to be on a good forwards lean. If you're really high up, you're going to be in a weak position and more likely to get stiff armed. So again, here, you could see hitting on a good angle here. Body's on this forwards lean. That's how you're going to have power. I like to say hit with the top of your shoulder pad as you keep your head up. If you're just really high up, you're not going to have any power into the hit, and it's going to make it a lot easier for you to get stiff armed as well. On a great clip. And then here, watching the defender. Oh, 1 sec. Sometimes my marker gets messed up. So watching here, the defender, just really high up. He's got no power. He's not really coming downhill. And here, you're really high up. You're going to get stiff arm. So I'll ask, kids will ask me a lot how to stop getting stiff arm. And although there's techniques you could use, like chop the arm down and then go into the tackle, most of the time, when guys get stiff armed, even if you search like best stiff arms on YouTube and you see the Derrick Henry doing a stiff arms, the DBs are like this, and they're just reaching what I call zombie arms for the ball carrier. If you're just reaching for him, you're not making strong contact, especially if you're up like this. Now, if you're on that forwards lean and you're hitting him with your shoulder pad and you're on a good low angle, even if he tries to stiff arm you, you're going to have so much power that he won't really be able to. So a big thing of not getting stiff arm is just being on a good low angle and having a lot of power into the hit. So here, DB's too high up. He has no power. He's also stepping away. You could tell he was scared of making contact here. Where if you hit him on the good low angle, drive him back, you're going to be making a lot better hits. And again, here shows it, low angle. Now, I'm not saying you have to get this low, but, you know, definitely have to be on a forwards lean. Can't have your upper body like this. That's zero power into the hit. Next up, staggered feet, not even feet. So this one is important as well. Well, they're all important. But as you hit, having staggered feet, that's what happens with your near foot up. Staggered feet as you hit. And you could even try this out. Get somebody, coach, doesn't matter. If you just stand in an even stance, if somebody pushes you from the front, you're going to take a little step back. If you get in a staggered stance and somebody pushes you, you got a little bit more power, more stability there because you got 1 foot up, 1 foot back. And here, going into the tackle, if you have your feet even like this, you don't really have power. It's going to be hard to generate power. And I like to compare it, after you hit, you want to think of it like you're almost pushing a sled where you're pumping 1 foot after the other and it's always staggered feet. If you have even feet, it's going to be really hard to generate power. And this one also shows sitting back too much, which we'll touch upon in a sec. So again, staggered feet into the tackle. Gonna have good form tackles, make strong hits. Boom. I'll put up a couple more form tackle examples here. So coaching points, form tackles. We could just go to this one I really like. Derwin James hitting Travis Kelce. Stagger feet, good power. He's smaller, you know, less weight, all that, but he does a great job getting low, staggering his feet, near foot, near shoulder. Awesome job on the hit. And then for staggered feet, we'll look at this one's probably a good example. Well, not the best view there. And then one more example here to show as you go into the hit. Again, staggered feet. Here it's easier to push off and drive from your feet than go into driving your feet. Compared to if is more of an even stance and you just don't have that same stability and that same power. So again, all really important stuff. Staggered feet, not even feet. When it's even, you don't have as much power. And then last couple points here. Drive your feet after contact. Do not drop to your knees. So if we look at the Cooper DeJean example, as he goes into the tackle, you can see he's running his feet through contact. step, 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 driving his feet. This is how you generate power after the hit. So everything we talked about already, everything that, closing the distance, gather steps, getting into that power position, that's all into the hit. But after you make contact, especially if you guys are running at each other, you have to keep driving your feet to push him backwards. So keep pumping your feet, run your feet through contact, step, step, step. Boom. 1, 2, 3. Great job driving the feet, knocks him backwards. This is exactly the type of tackle you want. I love dump tackles where you pull his legs and knock him backwards and he falls backwards. It's beautiful. And then here, a big mistake to avoid, dropping to your knees before contact. So again, here, this is not a power position. You have no ability to hit hard and drive him backwards. So don't want to drop to your knees before the hit. Can't run your feet like that either. So that was the next big pointer there, driving your feet after contact. Now, I will add on one thing. And just as I think when, social media gets more popular and a lot more coaches post content and people hear coaching points, is there'll be a few coaching points that really get popular and everybody repeats, and running your feet through contact or driving your feet is one of them. And sometimes I'll post a clip of a really big hit where the DB hits the receiver and he knocks him over right away, even if it is a wrap-up form tackle. But if the DB doesn't drive his feet, people will comment and say, great hit, but he didn't drive his feet. But the thing is, if you hit him so hard, he's already falling over, then you don't have to drive your feet. So when you hit him, you drive your feet to knock him down. But if you made such powerful contact, he's already in the air and getting hit over. It's not like you have to drive your feet. So in a lot of situations, it'll be like this: hit, drive, drive, drive. But let's say you hit him so hard, he just gets knocked over, and the tackle's already made. Next pointer here, last one, forwards lean, can't sit down. So I talked a lot about this already. And to show a couple of examples of can't sit down, if you're sitting back too much, it's the same idea. You can't generate power forwards like this. You want to think of hitting him, driving him backwards. Can't sit down so much. And then this clip shows it as well. I think this one was also a touchdown. So open field tackle. Yep. So you can see here, DB going into the tackle is sitting too far back. Like he's really taking a low squat position right now. He's in that low squat position, and he doesn't have his shoulders forwards, doesn't have a stagger, he has even feet. He's pretty much reaching for contact. So, a lot of things wrong with this picture, but the main thing is he's sitting down and he's not in that forward lean position, that power position that we talked about. Plus, he loses his leverage. So that's most of power position for contact. And again, there will be more details for all of this, but in this presentation here, we're going to cover a lot of it. And then the last couple of things I'm going to talk about, wrap the legs. I think every tackling point, not every, but I'm being a little hyperbolic. Every tackling point can be summarized into get low and wrapping the legs. If you already did a good job coming downhill, we could talk about different angles and everything. But if you, as a DB, aim for the legs and wrap the legs and squeeze the legs, you're going to do a great job in tackling. Especially, I remember growing up as a kid, all coaches really taught us was wrapping the legs, and it really helped. A huge problem I see is kids wrapping too high up. They'll be wrapping the stomach area, the chest, the shoulders especially, and everyone has their opinion in terms of where to wrap. But I say just always go to wrap the legs, because he can't run if his legs are wrapped. And I do this exercise with my guys all the time. If they're wrapping too high, I'll say, okay, let's do a quick exercise. I'll wrap their stomach and I'll say walk forwards, and then they'll walk. And then I'll wrap their legs and squeeze them, and then I say walk, and they can't move anywhere. Because if you wrap his legs, if you squeeze his legs together, he can't move. He can't run at all. And then another pointer, I say pull his legs together, pull his thighs to your chest, wrap and squeeze. That's really going to make it so he can't go anywhere. So take a look at a couple good wrap examples. So here, wrap the legs up, and you can see wrap and pull. See how thighs get all the way to the chest there? You're completely taking away his base from him. You wrap the legs, you can't go anywhere. And then the Cooper, yeah, this example is great. So get low, wrap the legs. If he wrapped up here, Derrick Henry's a strong guy. I don't know if he would have made that tackle. So wrap the legs. I say anywhere from like hamstring to knees is fine. Anywhere in that area is good. Wrap, pull the legs to your chest, squeeze his legs like this, and you're completely taking away his base from him. And one thing I'll say is, coach, I gotta ask this, coach, if I go low and if I wrap his legs, can't he hurdle me? It's like, yeah, if you go really low, sure, he could jump up. But like I explained before, if you keep your eyes on him, you're going to see him go to hurdle and then have the opportunity to go and adjust and make that tackle. So I always recommend wrapping the legs in that area there. And show a couple examples here. So Sauce Gardner wrapping shoulders, tries to toss the guy. But, especially if he's a tight end, it's going to be hard to make that tackle. So should wrap here, and that play would be done right here. But wrap too high up gives him the opportunity to break out of it. I think he ends up hurdling also. Very impressive play. Here's another one. Well, this is a bit different, but near foot, near shoulder. Should have stayed out on his outside leverage. You don't want to turn going into the tackle like this so much. And now here, look how high he wraps. Just gets tossed. So again, especially if you're tackling somebody who's really big, really strong, wrap the legs up. Don't wrap up there. Or he could still run. He could still pump his legs and get extra yards. Now, it's not like we got 5 hours to go into all the different types of tackles and ankle biting or missling tackles. That's also something you could do if you feel like you're outmatched. But I always just recommend wrapping the legs up. And even if you were doing more of a missile tackle where you shoot, his knees are lower, I would still recommend as you shoot, just wrap. It's not going to hurt you at all. It won't take away from the tackle, and you can always secure the tackle by getting that wrap. So wrap the legs, and the legs can't squeeze. Pull the thighs together to your chest. We'll show a couple more examples for should have wrapped. So bad tackles. This is just my folder I made. So here, safety's going for the big hit. If he wrapped up there, could have made the hit. This one is crazy. The guy breaks 6 tackles. Nobody wraps his legs up. Let's watch this. If you wrap the legs, he can't move anywhere. Wrap and squeeze. This one's the same idea. Now they're trying to, and you get a hand on, but that's where we really got to wrap and squeeze to secure that wrap. Same type of thing there. If you feel like you got a good angle and you make a big hit, you could go for it. But I always recommend wrapping up, because then at least you're securing the tackle. And side note, for hit sticks, if you're both going the same way, you don't have as much momentum into the hit. If you're running more at him, then it's going to be a really big collision. So again, I would just recommend wrapping up there. Here's another example. No wrap, just keeps running. So lots of examples there. We don't have to go through all of them because it's the same idea. One more thing I want to pull up quick is hurdled. So I talked about this before, but I might as well show it now. Make this bigger for you guys. So going into the tackle, a great job by the ball carrier. Really athletic play. But look here, as he's jumping up, DB's eyes are at the ground, he can't see this at all. If he had his eyes up, he'd be able to come up a little bit and still go make the tackle. Show one more over here. Eyes down. Got to see what you hit. Same idea. Eyes to the floor. You don't even see that he's hurdling. You see the DB's eyes are looking right at the ground. And then I should have a couple good examples for not getting hurdled. Yeah, here. So eyes are seeing what you hit. These always end up being funny tackles. Going through a lot of good content today. If you see what you hit, he goes to jump, then you can raise your pad level up and go hit him. And then we'll look at a couple more here. Yeah, this one's probably my favorite. Boom. Same thing. You see what you hit, but then he kind of dropped his eyes. All right, this will be the last one. Look, you can see the difference. As the ball carrier goes to jump, the DB's eyes are still on him. In the other clips, he was looking at the ground. So you're going to see the hurdle, then you have the ability to wrap up. Oh, I love football. Look at that hit. That's how you have to make them pay when they try to hurdle you and try to embarrass you. So quick summary of what we talked about so far. Open foot tackling keys for mainly for defensive backs. Closing the distance, get downhill aggressively, take the air out of it. Don't want to give him time to juke. You need momentum into the hit and then give him less yards as well. Usually staying on your leverage and making vice tackles is what you want to do. You don't want to cross over leverage and get in the way of your teammates or lose your contain. Gathering your feet into the tackle, long stride to short stride, active steps into the tackle, and continuously covering ground, not just breaking down and waiting for him. Think about the cue stepping on his feet, getting in a good power position for contact where your knees are bent, your eyes are up, face mask to the hip, shoulders on a good low angle. You got staggered feet, not even feet. You're driving your feet through contact and you're on a good forwards lean where you're not sitting down. And then, like we just talked about, wrapping the legs is very important. When you wrap his legs, he can't keep running. Above all else, what I see, the biggest problem I would say with tackling is guys don't wrap the legs like they used to anymore. And again, I think a big problem with it, like I started off this call by saying, tackling is not worked enough in practices, and kids don't learn proper technique. They don't learn to, not turn going into tackles and hit within your shoulder, and they don't get enough reps to wrap the legs. So it's all really important stuff to drill and to teach. And last thing I'll say is mentality, especially. You have to want to make the tackle. You have to have the mentality that you're on the hunt, that you're a lion going to hunt your prey. You have to be excited to hit and not scared of contact. So when you're in the situation where your safety and the Red Seas part and the O-line separates and that ball carrier is running straight through that hole, you have to be excited to go make that hit, come downhill aggressively, go wrap him up, and go make that tackle and not be scared of it. And the last clip I'll pull up for today is we'll go that exact situation like I'm talking about. So angles, alley, coaching points. Okay, here. So this was a clip. I got one more clip of my university career. It's exactly what I'm talking about here. As you're playing and you see, oh, wow, okay, this is a really big gap here. And this guy outweighs me by about 40 pounds. You can't sit back like the early example we saw with the Illinois DB here, where he sits back and then gets trucked and gives up the touchdown. You have to be excited. You have to be excited to come downhill and make that tackle. So again, huge gap here. Run at him. Gather your feet. Go into contact here. run. Angle was a bit rounded, just came out of the break a little weird. Here, run. Close the distance. Get a position here, 1 foot up, 1 foot back, stagger your feet. Near foot goes up. It's a little different here because he's turning and ends up half spinning. But anyways, going into the tackle. Wrap the legs. Here. Step, step. Like I'm saying, not taking huge steps, smaller steps into the tackle. If you think about the cue, stepping on his feet, exactly like I was saying, you're always going to be in position to make a good, strong tackle. And then try to wrap the legs. This guy had really thick legs, so I only got one of them here. But after you wrap, keep driving your feet to generate power. Wrap, drive, drive, drive. You can see the steps. Watch your feet. Wrap up. Step, 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 and end up knocking him back. Now, I had a little bit of help because my teammate was going to force the fumble, and that, it threw the guy off a little bit. He lost some momentum. But again, at the end of the day, this is a tackle I was really proud of because he outweighed me by 40 pounds, about 230, 190, and open field, Red Sea's part. He's got, 20 yards of space there. But good technique going into the tackle, get in a good power position, wrap the legs, drive the feet, and end up knocking him backwards here. You can see as he hits, well, sort of backwards. But again, that's a situation where if you're scared of that contact, you're letting him run up and truck you. That could be an easy touchdown in a lot of situations. But when you use the keys that we talked about in this presentation, then that is what it could look like. So just talked about this. And then improving the confidence. Guys ask me all the time, they're scared to tackle. How do you improve it? Number one, you got to just find that dog in you that wants to go out there and make contact and just, like I said, be on the hunt. But reps improve confidence, hitting the sled a lot, doing tackling drills, working on your open field tackling drills, working on the footwork. Reps really help improve confidence. Getting stronger in the weight room, of course. I'm not saying you got to be a 240-pound DB, but the stronger you get, you put on a little bit of muscle, you look at yourself in the mirror and you feel real strong. When you go, you suit up for game day and you look in the mirror pregame and you see your muscles popping, you're going to have more confidence going into the hit. Plus, that you're stronger than the other guy. So you're really going to develop that mentality that you're on the hunt and you're just excited to go hit. And then the last tip I would give for improving mentality, this one really helped me a lot, watching highlights and visualizing yourself making the plays. So before games, I often would watch big hits or a Sean Taylor highlight, especially where it's on YouTube, Sean Taylor Ultimate Highlights, 17-minute video, and it's him making a bunch of crazy hits and making plays. So I'd watch it and then close my eyes and visualize what it would actually look like if I was playing and if I went and made that hit. And then when I was playing, sometimes it would just flash in my eyes real quick and be like, oh, I've seen this tackle before. I know how to go about it and go make it. If you never see big hits, if you never get yourself excited, and if you don't really know what big plays look like, then it's going to be less likely that you actually bring that to life and you go out there and make the hits. So again, mentality, super important. You have to have that mentality that you're on the hunt and that you're excited to go hit. You're excited to close a distance. You're excited to come downhill aggressively and go make powerful tackles. You can't be scared of contact. And you also got to trust your brothers, play fearlessly, and understand that you got 10 other guys on defense or 11 other guys on defense that even if you mess up, it's okay because somebody's pursuing and they're going to help you out. So you got to go out there, play fearlessly, and go play on the hunt. And coach, that is the end of the presentation.
Good stuff, man. That was really good. I'm gonna be the guy to ask you to send some of those clips my way through my email if you don't mind. Yeah, that was great, Coach. That was really good, really detailed, and I think the guys that watch this are going to get a lot out of it. It's broke down, and you got the analytical part right with the presentation, and then the visual because everybody learns differently. And yeah, I thought that was great. So I know you said it during the presentation, but guys want to reach out to you, guys want to contact you, I'll put this at the bottom of the episode description, but just go ahead and let everybody know where they can find you.
Actually, I'll make it really easy. So I'll share my screen again and just show everything.
Okay.
Just cut this part out real quick. Where's profile? I'll get that loaded up. Okay. All right. So thanks again, Coach. The best way to reach out is going to be over social media or email. So Pick Six Athletics on Instagram or on X. And again, email doesn't show here, but it's pick6@defensiveback.com. That's the website I got, defensiveback.com. And if you got any questions or if you like the cut-ups, or I'd gladly be able to send presentations your way or send the cut-ups your way. And then one more thing I'll say is that I created a platform for defensive backs and DB coaches, which is called Lockdown Academy. And all the information about that is on defensiveback.com. So today was just part of, this is what it looks like on the inside, but that was just part of over here in Defensive Back University, the tackling course I made, the art of tackling. So this goes through and breaks everything down step by step, going into contact, making contact, different types of open field tackling, and everything gets super detailed. I do the same for man coverage, for press man, for different zones. There's training programs on here. There's indie drills for coaches as well, some coaching resources. So I just wanted to give a quick plug there. And if you are looking to find more resources of all the breakdowns and everything gets extremely detailed with it, then defensiveback.com will have a little bit more information about that. And then again, for contact, Instagram, X, or emailing pick6@defensiveback.com.
Awesome, brother. Well, listen, Coach, thank you so much for a great presentation, and wrote a ton of stuff down for our guys. So I appreciate you, and like I said, I'm going to volunteer myself for sending me some of those clips. So I really appreciate it.
We'll do. You know what I'll do actually? I'll put them all in a folder specifically, all the clips I used in this presentation, so it's easy to look at all of those.
Awesome, man. Well, listen, you have a good Friday, brother. Obviously, I'll let you know when we're going to post, and thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Coach. Appreciate it.